So it's not done, but I am thrilled with the progress. Let's walk the trail and I'll show you where we're at. Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farm, and I am really excited to be back out here on the trail build. You can see behind me what we've already done. Comes out up from the house, around here, around a tree, and then up here to where the excavator's at. And we're really close to poking our way through and really having a trail here that cuts across the property. So today I want to see how much progress I can get done. And I had to take some of our vehicles in for service today, and it's cut into my day. It's already afternoon and I'm gonna have to stop and fuel up. So I want to skip the long intro. Now I do have some announcements I want to make. I want to tell you guys about the event that I'm going to this weekend in case anyone wants to meet up with me there. And really, I want to have a little bit of a heart-to-heart with my regular viewers, talk about the content I've been putting out lately. A lot of different things I'd like to say, but instead of putting that here at the beginning and dragging it out, right now, what I want to do is just start digging, get some work done. We'll get to all the rest later in the video. Last thing I want to show you before I start digging is where we're at and what the terrain we're working on is, because I don't know how well you can see that on the main shot, the digging footage. So right here is the end of what we've dug. Camera's sitting right up there. And we're trying to dig through these rocks right here and work our way up. And you can see the orange paint, that marks the property line. And I can't see it from here, but we've got more spots marked off in orange paint straight ahead, so that's where we're headed. One of the things I want to talk about in this video is the event that I'm going to this weekend. Now, probably most of you guys aren't going to have the opportunity to attend, but I want to put it out there just in case you are, that TYM is giving away a tractor to someone who is at this event, which is pretty crazy actually. So generally with a drawing like that, your odds in winning are 1 in 10,000 or some crazy thing, because it's like a national drawing or something like that. But this is a dealer appreciation event where they're going to have a bunch of tractors set up, and you can come and run the tractors and talk to the engineers and salesmen and hang out with other YouTubers like myself. And this event, they're expecting to have a few hundred people there. So when the prize is a free tractor and there's only a couple hundred people, well, your odds are still really low, because 1 out of 200 is 0.5%. But that's a lot higher than you would normally have in a drawing like that. So if anyone's interested, I've shared the event details already, but I'll try to put them in this video description as well. It's in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania on Saturday, April 12th. I will be there all day along with Lucas from Peaks Peak Hobby Homestead, Tony from Tony's Tractor Adventure, and Joe from the Joe the Farmer YouTube channel. And I really enjoy meeting you guys and getting a chance to talk about tractors. So if you've got the opportunity to show up to the event, we'd be glad to have you. I spent several hours working on this trail today, and I've got a lot of footage. So even playing that footage sped up, it's probably going to be a fairly long video. But I truly am excited by all the progress I'm making. And while this video is playing, I want to address a few different types of comments that I've gotten lately. And I appreciate all the comments I get, and I try not to dwell on these comments too much, especially if they're negative. But I also think that if 2 people say something, then probably 100 people are thinking it. So a few people have asked me what the point of this trail is. Is this just wasting time, or is it just an excuse to make videos? And I actually was thinking about it, and I made a year in review video at the end of 2022, I believe. And in that, I did some drone footage and said what were my biggest goals for this year. And back in 2022, I said one of my biggest goals was to have a trail across the top of my property. I've actually wanted to do it ever since we bought this property. I think this is the nicest area of the property up at the top, and it has a great view looking down. And I just don't like having parts of the property that I can't access. So I am doing this because, to me, I need an excuse to really work this excavator hard. It was sent here for me to test, and testing it means putting it in difficult situations and digging out these rocks, going back and forth across uneven terrain, and moving these large rocks is a good test for me to determine if this excavator is a piece of equipment that I could recommend to someone else that they should buy. So I've always wanted this trail, but it also really gives me the opportunity to decide what I think of this machine. In terms of how we are going to use the trail, I'm going to use it to drag standing dead or fallen trees out of the woods and turn them into firewood. I'm also going to use it as a place to walk for exercise, because currently I've been walking for exercise along the side of the highway. And this will give my wife a place to walk the dogs. And then at the top, where that nice clearing is, I want to build some kind of a recreational area, whether that's a little miniature cabin or just a picnic table and, a cleared spot for the kids to play. For a quick update of what has happened so far, I was working this way. I realized I don't really want to be quite that close to this tree. I'm disturbing the roots, and this trail eventually is going to need to be a little bit wider. So I've come back here and I've worked over this way a little bit more, and we're going to head more this way instead of right over here and try to go straight from there. I've seen people use these in other videos and basically didn't realize how heavy they are. I mean, it makes sense, but Jiminy Christmas. Oh. I'm hoping I can prop this up where the auto connect feature will pick it up. Well, that auto connect function worked great. That was so much easier than trying to lift that up onto the boom. I don't know if this is going to work well for the rocks. It could be the best idea ever, or maybe it's not going to work well for rocks. When I got this, I was just thinking of it as a way to kind of rake material or clean up an area after a big project or grading or something. But that rake attachment came with the excavator. This is my first time trying it. I didn't expect that the rake sticks down quite a bit further than the thumb. They meet like this instead of like this. So we'll see, you know, how usable this is. Another comment I want to address that I actually get quite a bit when I'm working on a project like this one is, why don't you just do this or just do that? Why don't you just do it a certain way? And my experience is I'm sitting here looking at a project getting ready to start, or something like this rake attachment. A lot of times I'll think I have a way I can do it, and I'm looking at it and I say, I know what I should have been doing. And then I actually try it, and it just doesn't work the way I think it will. So that's a combination of two things. Number one, everything is harder than it looks. And we kind of have a habit as humans to assume that we can do something until we try it. And so part of that's just human nature. The other part is, I might just suck, and that's okay. I did not start this channel to be the excavating expert or the equipment expert. What this is meant to be is some guy just trying to do stuff. And if people didn't like watching it, I'd stop making the videos. But the track record, after a few years of this, and the comments I get and the followers, is that people enjoy the videos. So I'm going to keep doing my best and learning from you guys. And I feel like this trail build has been a huge success already, even though it's currently a trail to nowhere. Because I've learned a lot from failure. I've learned a lot from your comments. And I'm proud of it. My initial thought on using that rake is that it's very useful in a certain way for this, that I can rake those rocks out without digging in as much, which has a lot of benefit. But then once I rake them up and I've got this loose pile, it's not as good for grabbing them. And it feels like for that, my thumb would need to be a lot longer, or the tines on that would need to be shorter. So once that rakes them up, I've pulled these rocks into a pile without digging as much dirt, and that's a good thing. But now I'm stuck with, what do I do with them? I could turn the machine around and then bulldoze those out of the way with the blade. But with the way this hill is, I don't like turning all the time like that. You know, moving the machine out of the way, even to have a second machine, like if I had a second machine in here, even the tractor, if I could get the tractor up here to push those out of the way, then this would be the way to get the rocks out of here without disturbing as much dirt. But for exactly what I'm doing, I don't see a way to do that. I think what's going to work best for me right now is to go back to the regular bucket with a thumb to pick these out and move them out of the way. I've still got a few more hours, and I would like to see the trail get to where the camera's at. That would be huge progress for today.
I think I just told the camera that it didn't make sense for me to use the blade on this like a bulldozer to try to shove all this out of the way. Then I worked for 10 more minutes and looked at it and said maybe I should be doing it that way. And I still don't know if I should or not, but I think I should be finding out, because that's what these videos are supposed to do. I'm no expert on the best way to do this. I'm just trying stuff, and we'll see together what works and what doesn't. So I've got a bunch of loose rock here. I'm going to try shoving it out of the way with the blade on the front of the excavator.
This is another example of what I was talking about earlier. I was sitting in the cab raking these rocks around, and I was looking at the pile, and I thought, man, this dozer blade on the excavator will just shove all the rock out of the way easily. Like, that's so much quicker than picking up each rock and moving it. But then when I tried to do it, what I found out is if I got the blade down too low, I would snag on a rock that was still buried, and the machine wouldn't push it or wouldn't move, and that would lift the blade up. And then if I put the blade down low, I was digging and couldn't push or removing too much material. And like I said a minute ago, maybe I just suck, but I also think there's a real chance that it's just harder than it looks, and there's no easy way. And off camera, every time I come out here, I move rocks by hand. Because sometimes, no matter how much equipment you have, there aren't many things more efficient than just picking up the rock and moving it. Up until the rocks weigh more than, say, 50 pounds, and then I'm out.
So when I do the wrap up at the end of this video, I'll show you that where the mini excavator is sitting right now is really flat and smooth. Looks great. And right behind it looks great. And we'll walk and show that. But I'm kind of always wrestling with this project at taking off too much. Because every time I dig up a rock, it creates this big hole where that rock was at. And that, you know, if the rock's sticking up out of the ground, it needs to come out. Whenever I rip that out, now I've got this big hole and I can't kind of flatten it out because there's another rock under it, another rock next to it. And I find myself digging a foot down and then it's still uneven. I got to pack it back in. And then when I look at this up here, it feels like it's starting to flatten out where I need to be removing less material. From right here to where the machine's at, I've dug out 18 inches in some places. And I don't want to be removing that much material all the way across this. As a matter of fact, when I get up here another 30 foot, I just want to be pushing out an occasional, every once in a while, rock. But I think a lot of this is going to be something I can do with the tractor and a brush cutter, maybe a box blade. Let's see as we go, but I'm going to try right here to work the excavator up on top of this without removing nearly as much rock.
The next category of comment I want to talk about is the replies I get about me always trying to sell sponsored equipment, and that anything I get for free is always the best. And there's probably some truth in that. And I've got kind of a guilty conscience about it. When you start a channel like this, at least me and a lot of the people I've talked to, we have a vision that we're just going to go out and do work on our property and talk about our experiences, and that will build a channel. And that's possible, but what I find is that showing products is much more popular. And a lot of times I'm showing products that I don't necessarily even need, but people like to watch the content. So if my job is going to be making videos, then I have to continuously find new ways to be interesting. A lot of people have commented that their favorite videos was when all I had was the small John Deere tractor and a few attachments. But if all you have is a box blade and a tiller and a brush cutter and one machine, and all your videos are just using those things, it will be a pretty quick process for you to do everything you can do with that and have nothing else to talk about. So maybe going full-time ruins YouTube channels. Maybe that's just is what it is. But to really make a business out of this, you have to be evolving and trying new things and bringing in different equipment or taking on different projects. You can't just continually do the same things you used to do. Now, someone had a random comment yesterday that they could already see the next thing I was going to do is put my content behind a paywall. And I have no intention of ever doing that. The paid memberships, I don't want anyone to pay me for the privilege of watching my videos. I think the privilege is mine. If anyone takes time out of their day to watch one of my videos, then I owe you a debt of gratitude. Like, there's a million other things you could do with your time, and the fact you're choosing to spend it watching me, dig rocks with an excavator is an honor and a privilege, and I appreciate it. Another one is merchandise. I have no interest in you guys buying my merchandise. Like, if you want to, that's great. It's available, it's for sale, but I never mention it in a video because I don't think you buying a shirt with my logo on it makes your life better. What I'm hoping is that my videos provide value through either entertainment or information. And if I show a product that you genuinely think fills a need or helps you with a problem, and you buy that product and I get a commission, then that's awesome. But selling you a hat with my name on it, that doesn't add value to you unless you just really want it. So when it comes to sponsored content, I really find it interesting the way that different YouTube channels choose to make money off of their videos. We all get some money from YouTube for the views, for the advertising. But a lot of people find different ways to supplement that. One way, my favorite channel in the outdoors and equipment niche is Outdoors with the Morgans. I've been watching them consistently for years. I love the Morgans. I love how Mike makes his videos. I love how skilled he is with his equipment, the whole thing. But for quite a while now, in a lot of his videos, he reads ads for socks. Camel Mill socks. So when I listen to him read an advertisement for socks in the middle of the video, I think I would never do that. I would never read an ad like that for an unrelated product. But maybe that's more honest and straightforward. Just stop the digging for a minute and read an advertisement for a product. I'm acknowledging it's an advertisement and there's no confusion about it. But what I prefer to do is to find products that I like and make videos about those products. And that's why I never do ad reads in my videos. The excavator didn't want to back up that little incline without tipping over forward, so I used the bucket to push out while backing up at the same time, and that did the trick. But just to finish up my thought from a minute ago, I don't know if there's a better or a worse or a right or a wrong way to do it, but just know that I'm trying to supplement my income by showing these products, but I don't show products that I wouldn't buy.
So I was having trouble making this drop off gradually. I can't grade right here from a higher surface to a lower surface when it's all rock. So what I'm going to do is come up here to the flat spot, work from up here, work forward and keep progressing. And then I'll just add a little bit of fill dirt in here when I'm done. Literally all we're talking about, like from here to where the excavator sits, is not that big of an elevation difference. I just need a few buckets full of soil right here and we're back in business. Okay, right here is the tree I went around and I kind of veered the trail off that way for that tree. But if I look at my next paint mark, I need to be coming straight here. So we're going to have a little bit of a loop around that tree, but right now that trail, instead of going off where the excavator is, it needs to start curving back this way because I want to stay close to this property line. And the further this way I go, the more flat it is. So I want this trail to go right about here instead of staying over that way.
This moment right here was very exciting for me. Getting up to this part of the property was a big goal of the trail build, and I wasn't sure I would ever accomplish it. I talked about having this as a goal from a couple years ago, and I tried it with the skid steer, and I got about 15 foot up from the start, and I said, this machine can't do this job. It just can't sort material. It's not like it lacks power or anything, but I could bulldoze out some material and dig a hole, but I couldn't sort rocks out of the dirt and clear it the way I wanted to. So I'm really excited to be at this point. Now I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but I want to finish that conversation from earlier about the sponsorships. There's no product or brand that I've went harder for in my videos than TYM. I brag about TYM tractors all the time. I've made multiple standalone videos saying that I think they're the best. And a lot of people are annoyed by that because they see it as me selling out for a sponsor. But TYM has never given me anything as a company. They've never paid me anything. And I'm not locked into their brand. I believe that all the brands make a great tractor, but everything I say about TYM is said because I believe it to be true. I believe that simplicity is the most important thing for me when it comes to tractors, and they have the most simple tractor. A lot of people have said that my trail needs to be wider, and you are absolutely right. Once this trail, the way you see it now, makes it all the way across the property, that's just step one. The trail needs to be a lot wider than it is, and it needs to be smoothed out more than it is, and it's going to be a long process. But I can't tell you the satisfaction that will come from completing that first step where I can just walk or drive all the way across the property in a relatively straight line. And then from there, we'll have another process to go through. And I just took delivery of another piece of equipment, or I'm not sure if that's the right term for it, but I just took delivery of something that's going to make it a lot easier to finish this trail. And that'll be shown in a video before too long.
It's not done, but I am thrilled with the progress. Let's walk the trail and I'll show you where we're at. Okay, so coming off my backyard, this is where the trail starts. Now what you'll notice as we go through this, all of this really still needs work. This is a first pass, and the goal here is to get access across the property where I can just drive back and forth along it. And once I've got access and once I can drive it, then I can widen it if I need to, refine it, whatever the case may be. Now, if you look off to the side, you'll see not much on this side up here, but along the whole length of the path, this is the amount of rock that was dug out of each section. And this is not small rock. Massive. So this is the part that's going to be totally redone, where you see this jog here. The trail is going to go through here because that makes more sense. So this one section, when it's all done and I've made it all the way across the property, I'm going to redo that part. My original plan was to take the trail up that way, but that would have been much tougher sledding. And then I found out where the property line is. So the property line is where the orange paint is. We've got orange paint there and then on the last tree. Now everything to here is pretty smooth. When I take the side-by-side up here, this is the roughest part. You see some of these, like this needs to come out. The whole thing is going to be wider than it is now, because right now it's only wide enough for a tractor or a side-by-side or a mini excavator. Like this rock right here, that one needs to come out for sure. Then when I got up here, I started widening it out. And this is all decently flat. It still needs more work before the top dress layer, but it's progress. And now we're up to here. And we need to shoot straight through there. I was going to put it on that side of the tree, but I actually think that tree's on my property. This needs to cut through here. So the next time you see me work on the trail, I will probably be using the lane shark. For now, I am thrilled with the progress we've made out here. This has been a dream of mine for a few years now, and I'm just finally seeing it come true. It's very exciting. So I appreciate you coming along on this journey with me. Thank you for watching the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.